In a world where technology is constantly evolving, it's no surprise that texting has become one of the most popular methods of communication. And the problem is, not everyone knows how to text. In fact, texting is a delicate art, and if you don't know how to do it correctly, you could end up turning people off instead of turning them on. So what are the 11 texting habits of a high-value person, and how can you use them to your advantage? After watching this video, you will learn the psychology of texting and how to text people the right way and make them like you and respect you more. Before I get into this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below saying I subscribed. I will try my best to reply to as many comments as possible. Let's start. The psychology of texting. Before diving into the texting habits of a high-value person, it's important to understand the psychology of texting. You have to keep in mind that the person you are texting cannot see your facial expressions or hear the tone of your voice. And while most experts agree that 70 to 93% of all communication is nonverbal, this number drops to only 7% when we're texting. This means that the majority of what we're communicating is lost when we're texting. For example, when we hear someone say, "I'm fine," we can usually tell by their tone of voice whether they really are fine or not. But when we see those same words in a text, we can't tell if the person is being sarcastic or not. This is why it's important to use other cues like emojis, exclamation points, and capitalization to convey our meaning. Texting is all about context, and without the right context, our texts can be easily misinterpreted. Now that we understand the psychology of texting, let's move on to the top 11 texting habits of a high-value person. Number 11. They keep it short. I'm sure most of you have been in a situation where you texted someone and the reply was a novel. You know what I'm talking about. The text is so long that you have to scroll down just to finish reading it. This type of text is not only annoying, but it's also a major turnoff. No one wants to read a novel when they're trying to have a conversation. And while some people might think long texts are a good way to show how much they have to say, it actually has the opposite effect. Long texts make you seem needy and desperate for attention, especially if the content of the text is not interesting. So instead of writing lengthy texts, keep it short, sweet, and to the point. Number 10. They communicate one idea at a time. A high-value person understands the importance of efficient communication. When you text someone, it's important to communicate one idea at a time. This allows the recipient to process the information and respond accordingly. This habit shows that you respect the recipient's time and attention. It also demonstrates that you are a clear thinker who can communicate effectively. The ability to communicate effectively is a valuable skill in any setting, and texting is no exception. By showing that you can communicate effectively through text, you are sending a strong signal that you are a high-value person. Number 9. They don't use one-word replies. This is because high-value people understand that communication is more than just exchanging words. It's also about creating a connection with the other person. One way to create a connection is to use language that is rich and engaging. By saying more than just yes or no, high-value people are able to show their interest in the conversation and encourage the other person to keep talking. In addition, they are also more likely to get a response from the other person if they use more than one word. So if you're looking to create a connection with someone through text, avoid using one-word replies. Instead, take the time to craft an answer that shows you're interested in the conversation. Number 8. They use emojis only when appropriate. Using too many emojis can make you seem unprofessional or even childish. But when used in moderation, they can help to add some personality to your texts and make them more engaging. For example, you might use an emoji to show excitement or happiness, but you wouldn't want to use one when you're trying to be serious or professional. Research has shown that people who overuse emojis in their texts are perceived as less sincere. So if you want to come across as sincere, it's important to use emojis only when appropriate. Number 7. They don't solve all their problems via text. Have you ever been in a situation where you tried to solve a problem or resolve a conflict through text and found yourself getting more and more frustrated? If so, you're not alone. Texting is not an effective way to solve problems or resolve conflicts. This is because it's difficult to convey tone and intention through text. As a result, misunderstandings are common when people try to solve problems or resolve conflicts via text. And usually, instead of solving the problem, it just ends up making things worse. So if you're in a situation where you need to solve a problem or resolve a conflict, it's best to do it in person or over the phone. Number 6. They don't text too much. One of the texting habits of a high-value person is not text too much. This is because excessive texting can be seen as a sign of insecurity or neediness. When you text someone too much, it can come across as if you're trying to control the conversation or the relationship. It's important to strike a balance between staying in touch and giving the other person space. This rule may be dependent on the type of relationship you have with the other person. For example, if you're in a long-distance relationship, you may need to text more often to stay connected. Number 5. They don't take hours to text back. It's a common misconception that you should wait a certain amount of time to text back in order to seem cool or aloof. But the truth is, people who take hours to text back are just being rude. Sure, this trick might be effective in certain situations, like if you're trying to get someone's attention, but in general, it's best to respond to texts in a timely manner. By taking too long to text back, you're sending the message that you don't care about the other person or the conversation, and that's not something that a high-value person would do. Number 4. They prioritize phone calls and dating. Face-to-face interactions will always be more effective than text-based interactions. This is because you're able to pick up on non-verbal cues and get a better sense of the other person. It's understandable if you're in a long-distance relationship or if you're busy with work and can't always meet up in person. But when possible, it's best to prioritize phone calls and dating. Texting is a great way to stay in touch, but it should never replace face-to-face interactions. Number 3. They text with a purpose. When you are texting with a high-value person, you'll notice that they always have a purpose. They're not just texting for the sake of texting. Every text has a purpose, whether it's to make plans, ask how your day is going, or just say hi. Texting with a purpose makes conversations more meaningful and helps to build deeper relationships. Boring and meaningless texts are a major turnoff for most people, so if you want to impress someone, make every text serve a purpose. Number 2. They are not dry or boring. If you want to appear high value in your text messages, there are a few things you should avoid. First, resist the temptation to be dry or arrogant. No one wants to read a message that sounds like it was written by a robot, so inject some personality into your texts. Second, don't be boring. This doesn't mean that you need to be constantly sending witty one-liners, but your texts should be interesting enough to hold the recipient's attention. By avoiding these texting traps, you'll come across as confident and charismatic, two qualities that are sure to impress. Number 1. They don't play mind games. Mind games are a sign of low value. They are an indirect way of trying to control or manipulate the other person. They are also a way of trying to get attention. A high-value person is confident and does not need to play mind games. They are also direct. If they want something, they will ask for it directly. This shows respect for the other person and is more likely to get a positive response. Playing mind games is a form of emotional manipulation and is not an effective way to communicate or get what you want. If you are in a relationship with someone who plays mind games, it is important to set boundaries and be clear about what you will and will not tolerate. You deserve to be treated with respect and should not allow yourself to be manipulated by someone who is trying to control you. There you have it. These are the top 11 texting habits of high-value people. By incorporating these habits into your own texting habits, you will be surprised at how much your text conversations and relationships with others will improve. Now, you need to see the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. It will show you how to make someone do exactly what you want. Make sure to watch it now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.